The station shuddered as another blast tore through its outer hull. Tae-sung stumbled against the wall, his ears ringing from the alarms. Around him, Velhari and Krell soldiers who had been ready to fight each other moments ago now looked toward a common enemy. "We need to evacuate," Captain Jisoo shouted over the noise. "The station won't hold." Kyosuke moved to the window, staring at the attacking ships. Up close, they were even stranger. The vessels seemed to shift and flow, their shapes not quite solid. Reality bent around them in ways that hurt to look at. "The architects ruled the galaxy millions of years ago," Kyosuke said, his voice distant. "They were beings of pure energy who built empires across dimensions. When their civilization ended, they encoded themselves into quantum space. We thought they were just legends. Why are they attacking now?" Hana asked. Kyosuke turned to look at Tae-sung. "Because of him. His ability to exist in both physical and quantum states makes him a bridge. They need him to return to our universe." A strange sound filled the room. It wasn't exactly sound. It was more like a thought made audible. Words formed in Tae-sung's mind, bypassing his ears entirely. "Human Tae-sung, we have waited eons. You will help us return." Everyone clutched their heads. The voice was inside all of them. "We offer knowledge beyond measure, technology to reshape reality. All we ask is your cooperation." Tae-sung forced himself to speak. "What happens if I refuse?" "Then we collapse the quantum dimensions. All hyperspace travel ends, your civilizations will crumble. Billions will die slowly, trapped on their worlds." "They're bluffing," Minho said, but his voice shook with doubt. Another blast rocked the station. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Sparks rained down. "We don't have time to debate," Jisoo said. "Move." They ran through corridors filled with smoke and panic. Aliens of every species fled toward the docking bays. Some were injured, leaving trails of blood in colors Tae-sung didn't have names for. A section of wall exploded inward. Through the gap came something that made Tae-sung's mind rebel. It was shaped roughly like a person but made of light and shadow. Its form flickered between dimensions. The architect reached toward them. Minho fired his weapon. The shot passed through the creature without effect. "Physical weapons are useless," Kyosuke growled. "They're not fully in our dimension." The architect spoke, its voice like crystal breaking. "Come with us, human. It is inevitable." Tae-sung felt something pulling at him. Not physically, but deeper. It was pulling at the quantum particles in his cells, the ones he had absorbed from healing Hana. Then Hana grabbed his hand. The pulling stopped. Their biological bond created a kind of anchor, keeping him grounded in reality. "Run!" she shouted. They ran. Behind them, more architects phased through walls. The creatures moved in ways that defied physics, appearing and disappearing. They reached the docking bay. Their ships were there, but so were dozens of other vessels all trying to launch at once. The bay was chaos. "This way." Jisoo led them to their diplomatic ship. Kyosuke and his soldiers followed. "What are you doing?" Hana asked. "Surviving," Kyosuke said grimly. "The architects are everyone's problem now. We work together or die separately." There was no time to argue. They piled into the ship. Jisoo fired up the engines while Minho sealed the airlock. Through the windows, Tae-sung watched the architect ships tear the station apart. Sections of hull peeled away like paper. "Hold on." Jisoo launched the ship at maximum thrust. They shot out of the dying station into open space. Dozens of other ships did the same, fleeing in all directions. The architect vessels didn't pursue them all. They focused on one ship, theirs. "They're following us," Soman said from the sensor station. 3 vessels in pursuit." "Jump to hyperspace," Hana ordered. "They'll just follow," Kyosuke said. "They exist partially in hyperspace. That's how they tracked the quantum signature." Dr. Hyunsu pulled up data on his screen. "Wait, if they exist in hyperspace and Tae-sung's quantum particles resonate with hyperspace, then maybe we can use that." "Use it how?" Tae-sung asked. "Create interference. Your bond with Princess Hana has stabilized your quantum signature. If we can amplify that bond, create a false signature, we might be able to confuse their tracking." "How do we amplify it?" Hana asked. "I'd need to synchronize your neural patterns, essentially deepen the biological connection between you." "Do it," Tae-sung said immediately. Dr. Hyunsu worked quickly, setting up equipment in the medical bay. Tae-sung and Hana sat facing each other, connected to monitoring devices. "This might hurt," Hyunsu warned. "I'm essentially forcing your nervous systems into harmony." He activated the device. Energy flowed between Tae-sung and Hana. It felt like being hit by lightning. Tae-sung gasped. Across from him, Hana's patterns flared bright. Then something shifted. He could feel Hana's thoughts brushing against his. Not reading them, but sensing them. Her determination, her fear, her hope, and underneath it all something warmer, feelings she had for him that matched his own, their hearts synchronized, beating as one, their breathing aligned. They were still separate people, but connected in ways that went beyond biology. "It's working," Soman said with wonder. "Their quantum signatures are merging. I'm reading them as one entity." An architect ship appeared beside them, keeping pace. Its form shifted through impossible angles. Interesting. Two become one, but it changes nothing. "Now!" Dr. Hyunsu shouted. Minho activated the device they'd prepared. It broadcast Tae-sung and Hana's merged quantum signature in all directions. Suddenly, it seemed like their ship was everywhere at once. The architect vessels paused, confused. Their sensors showed the same signature coming from 1,000 different points. "Jump," Hana ordered. Jisoo engaged the hyperdrive. They leaped into the swirling colors of hyperspace. For several minutes, no one spoke. They watched the sensors, waiting to see if the architects would follow. "I think we lost them," Soman said finally. Everyone relaxed slightly. Tae-sung realized he was still holding Hana's hand. He could still feel her heartbeat as if it were his own. Kyosuke sat heavily in a chair. His mechanical parts whirred as he moved. "The architects have returned. This changes everything. What do they want?" Hana asked. "To live again. They've been trapped in quantum dimensions for millions of years, conscious but not truly alive. They want physical forms again. And Tae-sung is the key. Why me specifically? Your biology bridges the gap between dimensions. If they can study you, replicate your abilities, they can pull themselves back into our universe." "And that's bad because?" Minho asked. "Because there's a reason they died out," Kyosuke said. "The architects consumed entire star systems for energy. They saw biological life as primitive and disposable. If they return, they'll see us the same way." Dr. Hyunsu pulled up historical data. "I've been researching. There are fragments of information about the architects in ancient databases. They didn't die naturally. The younger species of their era fought them, drove them into quantum space, and collapsed the gateways behind them. So our ancestors trapped them," Hana said slowly, "and now we've accidentally let them out." "Not out yet." Dr. Yoonji, one of Kyosuke's scientists, spoke for the first time. She was mostly human still, with only minor modifications. They're still partially trapped. That's why they need Tae-sung. He's the only being they've found who can exist stably in both dimensions. Tae-sung felt the weight of everyone's eyes on him. His unique biology had already made him a target for the Krell. Now it made him a target for ancient beings with godlike power. "We need to call for help," Hana said. "Get my parents' Earth's forces, everyone, and tell them what?" Kyosuke asked. "That an ancient evil has awoken because we were fighting over a human? That will go well." "He's right," Tae-sung said quietly. "We need a solution, not just an army." "The solution is obvious," Dr. Yoonji said. "We need to understand the architects, find out what they really want. There might be a way to negotiate." "They want me," Tae-sung said. "They made that clear." "They want your biology," Soman corrected. "Maybe we can give them something that satisfies them without sacrificing you." Over the next hours, they worked on a plan. It was dangerous and probably insane, but it was all they had. They would contact the architects, offer to meet them. Tae-sung would enter their dimension willingly, but not alone. Hana would come with him. Their bonded biology would keep them both anchored to reality. Once inside the quantum dimension, they would try to understand what the architects truly needed. Maybe there was a way to help them exist without destroying biological life. "This is suicide," Minho said flatly. "Probably," Tae-sung agreed. "But doing nothing means watching them tear apart reality to get what they want. At least this way we have a chance." Kyosuke studied Tae-sung for a long moment. "You humans are either the bravest species I've met or the most foolish. Why not both?" Tae-sung said with a weak smile. They sent the message to the architects through quantum channels. The response came within minutes. "Acceptable. We will open a gateway. Come to the coordinates we provide. Come alone, or we begin collapsing hyperspace." Coordinates appeared on the screen. A location deep in interstellar space, far from any inhabited systems. "We'll go," Hana said, "but we're taking backup." They contacted King Doyen and Commander Jiwon, explained the situation. Both leaders wanted to send fleets, but Taesung refused. Hana stayed close to him, introducing him to friendlier nobles. She was teaching him. The Taesung woke to the sensation of cool hands on his face. Everything hurt. His stomach felt like acid and his head pounded with each heartbeat. Slowly, his vision cleared. Hana leaned over him, her face tight with concentration. Her hands glowed with soft blue light where they touched his skin. He could feel something flowing between them, a warmth that pushed back the pain. What happened? His voice came out rough. Poison, Hana said. Her hands shook slightly. Someone poisoned your drink. But I can heal you, just like you healed me. Taesung felt the energy flowing from her into him. It was different from when he had healed her. Then his body had acted on instinct. Now he could actually feel their cells communicating, sharing information. His body was learning from hers and hers from his. This is incredible, Dr. Hyunsu said from somewhere nearby. Their biological systems are synchronizing. I've never seen anything like it. The healing took an hour. When it was done, Hana collapsed into a chair, exhausted but smiling. Taesung sat up slowly. The poison was gone. More than that, he felt different. Stronger somehow, more aware of his own body. We're connected now, Hana said quietly. I can feel you. Your heartbeat, your emotions. Can you feel me? Taesung concentrated. Yes, there was something there. A presence at the edge of his awareness. Warm and steady. When Hana felt relieved, he felt it too. What does this mean? He asked. Dr. Hyunsu pulled up scans on a screen. Your biologies have bonded at a fundamental level. You share antibodies now, immune responses, even some neural pathways. You've created something unprecedented. King Doyen stood in the corner, his face carved from stone. Captain Jisoo is investigating the poisoning. We'll find who did this. The answer came within hours. Jisoo returned with guards who dragged in a servant. Under questioning, the servant broke quickly. Duke Sangyuk had ordered the poisoning. The plan had been to kill Taesung and blame it on Krell assassins. Then Sangyuk would use the incident to turn public opinion against Earth. Duke Sangyuk was arrested, but the damage was done. His supporters still filled the council. They argued that Taesung's presence caused too many problems. Some even suggested giving him to the Krell to buy peace. They're scared, Hana explained as they walked through the royal gardens later. The war has gone on so long. People are tired of fighting. I understand fear, Taesung said, but trading lives for peace never works. The Krell won't stop with just me. They walked in silence for a while. The garden was beautiful, filled with plants that glowed softly in the twilight. Strange insects that looked like living jewels flew between flowers. Tell me about the Krell, Taesung said. Not the propaganda. The truth. Hana sat on a bench beneath a tree with silver leaves. They were us once. Velhari, who believed in progress through enhancement. When our ancestors rejected genetic modification, the Krell left. They settled border worlds and began changing themselves. What went wrong? The enhancements worked. They became stronger, faster, smarter, but each generation needed more modifications to survive. The technology became addictive. Now their children are born damaged, needing immediate surgery just to live. They're dying out, Taesung said slowly. That's why they're so desperate. Yes. They have maybe 20 years before their population collapses. They need new genetic material. Stable genes. They've tried conquering other species, but nothing works. Then they detected your quantum signature. Taesung thought about this. The Krell weren't evil. They were desperate parents trying to save their children. Desperate soldiers trying to save their people. Desperation made people do terrible things. I want to help them, he said. They tried to kidnap you. They want to cut you open. Because they don't know there's another way. Hana, we have to try. If I can meet with them, explain that I'll help willingly. Maybe things can change. Hana stared at him. You're serious. Completely. You're insane. Maybe. But what's the alternative? Keep running? Keep fighting? How many people have to die before someone takes the first step toward peace? Hana was quiet for a long time. Then she took his hand. My mother once told me that true courage isn't the absence of fear. It's being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. Your mother sounds wise. She'll support this. So will my father. But the council, now she shook her head. Queen Mirai did support the plan. So did King Doyen, though reluctantly. The council was harder to convince. Days of debates followed. Some nobles called Taesung naive. Others called him a spy. A few called him the bravest human they'd ever heard of. Finally, a compromise was reached. They would arrange a meeting on neutral ground. A trading station in the Kepler belt, halfway between Velhari and Krell space. Tae-sung would offer his help freely. In return, the Krell would agree to a temporary ceasefire. The Krell accepted. The meeting was set for 1 week. Tae-sung spent that week preparing. Selman and Dr. Hyunsu helped him create samples of his antibodies. They packaged them carefully, enough to treat thousands of Krell. It was a gesture of good faith. Minho and Jisoo trained him in combat. Just in case, Minho said. Hope for peace, but prepare for war. Hana spent hours teaching him about Krell psychology. They respect strength, she said. But they also respect sacrifice. Show them you're willing to risk everything for peace. The night before they left, Tae-sung couldn't sleep. He stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Velhara at night was breathtaking. Buildings that glowed with soft light, flying vehicles that moved in graceful patterns, 3 moons hanging in the sky. Hana found him there. She wore simple clothes, not her royal armor. She looked younger like this. More vulnerable, nervous? She asked, terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. She stood beside him. Tae-sung, if this goes wrong tomorrow, it won't. But if it does, I want you to know something. She turned to face him. When I was dying, I was so scared. Not of death, but of leaving things unsaid, leaving things undone. I've spent my whole life being a princess, being a strategist. I never let myself just be Hana. Who is Hana? She smiled. Someone who is terrible at small talk. Someone who reads too much. Someone who... She paused. Someone who has never felt as alive as she has this past week. With you. Tae-sung's heart raced. Hana, she kissed him. It was gentle and uncertain and perfect. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have... Don't apologize. Tae-sung pulled her close. I've been wanting to do that for days. They stood together on the balcony, holding each other under 3 moons. 2 people from different worlds who had found something impossible. Hope. The next morning, they boarded a diplomatic ship. The crew was small. Captain Jisoo at the helm, Mingo handling security, Soman managing the medical supplies, Dr. Hyunsu as chief medical officer, and Hana commanding everything. The journey to the trading station took 12 hours. Tae-sung spent the time reviewing everything he wanted to say. He had 1 chance to convince the Krell, 1 chance to prevent more death. When they dropped out of hyperspace, the trading station appeared ahead. It was huge, a massive ring spinning in space. Ships from dozens of species docked there. It was neutral ground, protected by ancient treaties. Krell ship detected, Jisoo announced. Looks like a diplomatic vessel. Good, Hana said. Maybe they really want peace. They docked carefully. The station's interior was bustling with activity. Aliens of every description moved through corridors, trading goods and information. Guards watched everything with multiple eyes. A station official met them at the airlock. He was insectoid with translucent wings and compound eyes. Welcome, he clicked in heavily accented English. The Krell delegation awaits in conference room 7. They walked through the station. Tae-sung noticed Minho had his hand near his weapon. Jisoo's eyes darted everywhere, watching for threats. Even Hana looked tense. Conference room 7 was large and empty except for a single table. On one side sat the Krell delegation. Tae-sung had seen Warlord Kioski on the screen before, but seeing him in person was different. The man was more machine than flesh. His skin was gray and scarred. Red lights glowed where his eyes should be. Mechanical parts moved under his skin. He looked like he was dying slowly. Behind Kioski stood soldiers. They were similar but less modified. All of them looked sick. Gray skin, trembling hands. The quantum poisoning was killing them. So, Kyosuke's voice was like grinding metal. The famous human who can perform miracles. Tae-sung stepped forward. My name is Tae-sung. I came here to help. Help? Kyosuke laughed. You're prey pretending to be a savior. I could take you right now. You could try, Hana said coldly. She moved to stand beside Tae-sung. But you didn't come here for a fight. You came because you're dying and you know it. Kyosuke's mechanical eye whirred as it focused on her. Princess, you look well for someone who should be dead. Thanks to Tae-sung. Yes. The human with the magic touch. Kyosuke stood. He was tall, over 6.5 feet. I should kill you both and take what I need from your corpses. But you won't, Tae-sung said. He kept his voice steady despite his fear. Because I'm offering it freely. Antibodies to quantum poisoning. Enough to treat your entire population. He placed the case of samples on the table. Kyosuke stared at it. For a long moment no one moved. Then Kyosuke reached out with a trembling hand and opened. The courier ship hummed through hyperspace. Outside the windows, reality bent in ways that hurt to look at. Taesung had been traveling through space for years, but hyperspace always made him feel slightly sick. Captain Jisoo sat at the controls, her fingers dancing over panels that glowed with alien symbols. Minho checked weapon systems nearby, his military training obvious in every movement. Somin had set up her equipment in the back and was running tests on blood samples Taesung had given her. Hana sat across from Taesung, teaching him about her people. She spoke about the Velhari Empire, thousands of worlds connected by trade and culture. She told him about the war with the Krell, how it had started 20 years ago over a disagreement about genetic modification. The Krell believed we should enhance ourselves, she explained, make ourselves stronger, faster, more intelligent through technology. My ancestors disagreed. They thought it was dangerous to change what makes us who we are. So the Krell left. They tried to take half the empire with them. The war has been going ever since. Hana's patterns dimmed slightly. I lost my brother in the war. He was a pilot. His ship was destroyed in a battle near the border worlds. Taesung felt his chest tighten. I'm sorry. I lost my sister too, to a disease when I was 19. That's why I became a scientist. I wanted to prevent other people from feeling that pain. They shared a look of understanding. Loss was universal, it seemed, even across species. An alarm interrupted them. Jisoo cursed in her language. Krell ships. 3 of them. They're somehow tracking us through hyperspace. That's impossible, Minho said, moving to the weapons console. Hyperspace tracking doesn't exist. Tell that to them. Jisoo's hands flew across the controls. Hold on, this is going to be rough. The ship dropped out of hyperspace into normal space. They were in an asteroid field. Rocks the size of buildings floating all around them. Jisoo immediately dove between 2 massive asteroids. Behind them, 3 Krell fighters appeared. They were smaller than the warship, but still deadly. Energy weapons lit up space, they're firing, Minho shouted. The ship rocked as a blast clipped their shields. Jisoo spun the ship in a way that made Taesung's stomach flip. They dove under an asteroid, skimmed along its surface, and shot through a narrow gap. 1 Krell fighter tried to follow. It wasn't as skilled. The fighter clipped the asteroid and exploded in a ball of fire. 2 left, Jisoo said grimly. They played a deadly game of chase through the asteroid field. Jisoo proved why she was the Royal Guard's best pilot. She made the ship dance between rocks that would have crushed them. The Krell fighters were fast but less maneuverable. Minho got a lock on 1 fighter and fired. The shot hit perfectly. Another explosion lit up space. The last fighter broke off, retreating into hyperspace. Everyone took a shaky breath. Taesung realized he had been gripping his seat hard enough to hurt his hands. How did they track us? Somin asked from the back. Hyperspace tracking is theoretically impossible. Unless they're not tracking the ship, Hana said slowly. What if they're tracking Taesung? Everyone turned to look at him. Taesung felt suddenly very exposed. That doesn't make sense, he said. How would they track me? Somin was already pulling up data on her screens. The quantum radiation. When you healed Princess Hana, you absorbed quantum particles. They're still in your system. The Krell might have sensors sensitive enough to detect that signature. Can we block it? Jisoo asked. Maybe. I'd need to analyze his biology more. But we should keep moving. They'll send more ships. Jisoo nodded and jumped them back into hyperspace. This time she took a more complex route, jumping multiple times to confuse any pursuit. Over the next few hours, Taesung worked with Somin in the makeshift lab. She explained what she was finding in his blood. Your cells are extraordinary, she said, showing him microscope images. They're producing enzymes I've never seen before. These enzymes can break down quantum radiation and convert it to harmless energy. It's like your body learned a new language in hours. Is that permanent? I think so. Your genetic code has actually changed. You've evolved, Taesung. In the span of a few hours, you adapted to survive something that would kill any other human. Taesung stared at the images. He was different now, changed. Part of him felt excited by the scientific implications. Another part felt scared. What else might change? Hana came to check on him later. She brought food, strange but edible. They sat together in the small crew area. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Confused, scared, excited, all at once." "That sounds normal for someone who just became the most wanted person in the galaxy." She smiled to show she was joking, but her eyes were serious. "Why do you think the Krell need this so badly?" Tae-sung asked. "There must be other ways to solve their problem. Pride, maybe. They've spent 20 years telling themselves they're superior because of their enhancements. Admitting those enhancements are killing them would mean admitting they were wrong. People rarely admit they're wrong," Tae-sung said quietly, "even when it kills them." They talked late into the night cycle. Hana told him about her role in the Empire. She wasn't just a princess. She was a military strategist trained since childhood. She had been on a peace mission when the quantum rift had nearly killed her. "I wanted to end the war," she said. "I met with Krell moderates who also wanted peace. We were close to an agreement. Then the rift opened and everything went wrong. Maybe it can still work," Tae-sung suggested. "If I can help the Krell, if I can cure what's killing them, maybe they'll agree to peace." Hana looked at him with something like wonder. "You would help them? After they tried to kill you? They're desperate. Desperate people do terrible things. But if the desperation goes away, maybe the terrible things stop too." Hana reached out and took his hand. Her cool skin against his warm skin felt right somehow. "You're either very wise or very naive." "Probably naive," Tae-sung admitted. "But I have to try. What's the point of being able to heal if I only save people I like?" 6 hours later, they dropped out of hyperspace near the Velhari homeworld. Tae-sung pressed against the window, staring in awe. The planet was beautiful. Blues and greens swirled beneath white clouds. 3 moons hung in the sky. Orbital stations sparkled like diamonds. Hundreds of ships moved through space in organized patterns. "Welcome to Velhara," Hana said softly. "My home." But something was wrong. Jisoo received a transmission and her expression darkened. "What is it?" Hana asked. "Political trouble. Duke Sangyuk has called an emergency council. He's opposing your father's decision to bring humans here. He says we're compromising our security." "Sangyuk always opposes everything," Hana said with frustration. "He thinks humanity is beneath us." They docked at a royal station. As soon as they disembarked, guards surrounded them. But these weren't Hana's personal guards. They wore different colors. "Princess," the guard captain said, "Duke Sangyuk requests your presence at the council immediately." "The human must come too." "Requests or demands?" Hana asked coolly. "Please don't make this difficult, Your Highness." Tae-sung could feel the tension. Minho's hand moved toward his weapon. Jisoo positioned herself between Hana and the guards. "It's okay," Tae-sung said. "We'll go." "I want to explain what happened." They were escorted through the station to a grand council chamber. It was huge, with a domed ceiling that showed the stars above. Dozens of Velhari nobles sat in a circle around a central platform. King Doyen sat on a throne at the far end. Queen Mirai stood beside him. Duke Sangyuk stood in the center. He was older than the king, with darker blue skin and patterns that glowed blood red. When he saw Tae-sung, his lip curled in disgust. "So this is the human," he said loudly. "The primitive creature that has convinced our king to violate centuries of isolation policy." "Sangyuk, enough," King Doyun's voice boomed. "This human saved my daughter. We owe him everything. We owe him nothing," Sangyuk shot back. "He has brought the Krell to our doorstep. Already there are reports of Krell ships near our border. They're hunting him and we're harboring their prey." Murmurs spread through the council. Some nobles nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. "The Krell are already our enemies," Queen Mirai said calmly. "One more reason for them to attack changes nothing. It changes everything if it gives them what they want." Sangyuk turned to face Tae-sung directly. "Human, you should leave. For your own safety and ours." Tae-sung stepped forward onto the platform. He felt small, surrounded by aliens, but he kept his voice steady. "I understand your concern," he said, "but running won't solve anything. The Krell will keep looking for me, and while they search, their people keep dying from quantum poisoning. Maybe there's another way, and what way is that?" Sangyuk asked mockingly. "Let me help them. I can cure quantum poisoning. If I share that cure with the Krell, they won't need to hunt me anymore, and maybe if we save their lives, they'll be willing to talk about peace." The council chamber erupted in shouting. Half the nobles called Tae-sung a fool. The other half seemed intrigued. Sangyuk smiled cruelly. "The human proposes to help our enemies. This proves my point. They cannot be trusted." That evening, there was a reception for the returning princess. Taesung attended reluctantly, feeling out of place in borrowed formal clothes. The Velhari nobles stared at him, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed hostility. Taesung woke up in a medical bed. His entire body ached like he had been hit by a shuttle. Dr. Hyunsu stood beside him, checking monitors and shaking his head. "You're an idiot," Hyunsu said, but his voice was gentle. A brave idiot, but still an idiot. "Did it work?" Taesung's voice came out as a croak. "See for yourself." Hyunsu helped him sit up. Through the window, Taesung could see Princess Hana in the next room. She was sitting up, talking with her parents. Her skin glowed with healthy blue light. The gray patches were completely gone. "It shouldn't have worked," Hyunsu said quietly. "What you did breaks every rule of biology we know. Your cells somehow adapted to her biochemistry in real time. You created antibodies to a form of radiation that exists partially in quantum dimensions. Do you understand how impossible that is?" Taesung didn't answer. He was watching the princess laugh at something her mother said. She looked so alive now, so vibrant. It was hard to believe that hours ago she had been dying. The door opened. King Doyan entered, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop from his presence alone. He was tall, nearly 7 feet, and his royal armor shifted colors in the light. But when he spoke, his voice was warm. "Taesung of Earth," he said, "you have saved my daughter's life when all our science said she was beyond saving. In my culture, this creates a life debt. Your life and mine are now connected. I owe you a debt that can never be fully repaid." Taesung tried to stand, but his legs were too weak. "I just did what anyone would do." King Doyan smiled. "No, you did what heroes do. You risked everything for a stranger." He placed his hand over his heart. "The Velhari Empire will remember this. Humanity has earned our friendship today." Queen Mirai entered next, moving with grace despite her obvious exhaustion. "Hana wants to meet you properly," she said. "If you're strong enough." Taesung nodded. Hyunsu helped him into a wheelchair, muttering about stubborn patience. They went to the next room. Princess Hana looked up as they entered. Up close, Taesung could see details he had missed before. Her eyes had flecks of different colors in them, like opals. Her hair was long and dark blue, almost black. When she smiled, it was like sunrise. "Hello," she said in English. Her accent was strange but beautiful. "I am Hana. You saved my life. I'm Taesung." "I'm glad you're okay." They stared at each other for a moment. Taesung felt something odd in his chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with his exhaustion. Hana tilted her head as if she felt something too. "How did you know it would work?" she asked. "I didn't, I just had to try." Hana reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool but not cold. "Thank you," she said simply. "I was so scared. I could feel myself fading. And then there was light and warmth and I came back. You brought me back." Before Taesung could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Commander Jiwon's voice came over the intercom, tight with tension. "Unknown vessel decloaking off our port side. They're hailing us." "It's a Krell warship." King Doyan's expression hardened. "They followed us. Who are the Krell?" Taesung asked. "Our enemies," Hana said quietly. "We've been at war with them for 20 years. Everyone rushed to the command center. On the main screen, a massive warship hung in space. It was dark and angular, nothing like the flowing beauty of the Velhari ship. It looked designed for one purpose only: destruction. A face appeared on the screen. The man was humanoid, but his features were harsh. His skin had a gray tint and his eyes glowed red. Parts of his face and neck were replaced with mechanical components. "I am Warlord Kyosuke," he said. His voice sounded like metal scraping metal. "We detected the quantum signature of healing. You have someone aboard who can neutralize quantum radiation. We demand you hand them over immediately." Commander Jiwon stepped forward. "This is a United Earth research station. We don't respond to demands," Kyosuke laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You have 1 hour to surrender the human called Taesung. If you refuse, we will destroy your station and take him from the wreckage. Choose wisely." The screen went black. The command center erupted in shouting. Half the crew wanted to evacuate. The other half wanted to fight. King Doyan silenced everyone with a raised hand. "We will not let them take Taesung," he said firmly. "My ship is damaged, but we have weapons. We'll defend this station." "Against a Krell warship?" Jiwon said. "With respect, Your Majesty, we'd last maybe 10 minutes. "Then we evacuate," Queen Mirai said. "We take Taesung and Hana to our homeworld." There, they'll be safe. They'll just follow us, Hana protested. She was leaning against a wall, still weak but refusing to show it. The Krell have been trying to counter our quantum weapons for years. If they know Tae-sung can heal quantum poisoning, they'll never stop hunting him. Tae-sung felt everyone's eyes turn to him. This was his fault. He had saved Hana, but in doing so he had painted a target on his back, and now everyone around him was in danger. Why do they want me? He asked. Just to study my blood? King Doyen shook his head. The Krell have been modifying themselves with quantum technology. It makes them powerful, but it's also killing them. They need your ability to survive their own enhancements. So if I go with them, everyone else is safe? No! Hana pushed away from the wall, stumbling toward him. They'll dissect you. They'll kill you to understand how your biology works, and then they'll use that knowledge to become unstoppable. Hana's right, said Captain Jisoo, the head of the Royal Guard. She was shorter than the other Velhari, but moved with lethal grace. The Krell show no mercy. We fight or we run. Those are our only options. Then we run, Ji-won decided. I'm not sacrificing my crew or starting an interstellar war. Take your fastest ship. Get them out of here. The plan came together quickly. A small courier ship sat in the Velhari vessel's bay. It was fast and could jump to hyperspace quickly. Captain Jisoo would pilot. Hana would come because she refused to be left behind. A human security officer named Minho volunteered to help, and Soman, another xenobiologist, wanted to study Tae-sung's mutation. They had 40 minutes to get ready. Tae-sung packed quickly. He didn't own much. His research notes, some clothes, a picture of his sister. As he packed, Hana came to his quarters. I'm sorry, she said. This is my fault. If we hadn't come here, then you'd be dead, Tae-sung interrupted. I don't regret helping you. I just wish it didn't put everyone in danger. Hana sat on his bed. She looked tired. My people have a saying. Every life saved changes the universe. We just never know how until later. In my culture, we say that saving one life is like saving the whole world. Then maybe our cultures aren't so different. They talked for a few more minutes, sharing small things about their lives. Tae-sung learned that Hana loved music and old books. Hana learned that Tae-sung had wanted to be an artist before his sister died. In those quiet minutes, a friendship began to form. 20 minutes later, they were running through corridors toward the docking bay. The Krell warship was powering weapons. Commander Ji-won had ordered the Velhari main ship to launch as a distraction. It would draw fire while the courier escaped. They reached the small ship. It was sleek and silver, built for speed. Captain Jisoo was already at the controls. Minho secured weapons. Soman set up a mobile lab in the back. Everyone strap in, Jisoo ordered. The ship launched just as the first Krell weapons fired. Tae-sung watched through the window as energy beams tore through space. The Velhari main ship fired back, its weapons creating shields of pure light. The research station's tiny defense guns joined in. They jumped to hyperspace with seconds to spare. As the stars stretched around them, Tae-sung finally let himself relax. They were safe. For now, Hana sat beside him. Welcome to my universe, she said with a tired smile. I hope you survive it. Tae-sung looked at the strange crew around him. Aliens and humans working together, running from an enemy that wanted to cut him open, heading toward a world he had never imagined visiting. He should have been terrified. Instead, he felt more alive than he had in years. I'll do my best, he said. Behind them, unknown to anyone on the courier ship, the Krell warship broke off its attack. Kyosuke watched the smaller ship disappear into hyperspace on his scanner. He smiled, his mechanical parts whirring. Let them run, he said to his crew. We know where they're going, and this time the princess won't escape us. Tae-sung stared at the screen in his lab, watching the strange vessel approach the research station. The ship looked wrong. Its hull was cracked and glowing with an eerie purple light. Debris floated behind it like a trail of breadcrumbs through space. He had been working late again as usual. Sleep never came easy on Research Outpost Meridian. The station orbited a neutron star, and the constant hum of radiation shields made everything feel slightly off. But tonight was different. Tonight everything was about to change. The alarm blared through the corridors. Tae-sung jumped from his chair and ran toward the docking bay. His heart pounded in his chest. In 3 years of working on this station, they had never received a distress call from an unknown species. Commander Ji-won stood at the viewing window, her face pale. They're asking for help, she said quietly. Their princess is dying. Tae-sung pressed his hand against the cold glass. The alien ship was massive, at least 5 times larger than their station. Its design was beautiful despite the damage. Curved lines and crystalline structures that caught the starlight and bent it into rainbow colors. "Are we letting them dock?" Tae-sung asked. Ji-won nodded. "We don't have a choice. They'll crash if we don't." She turned to face the medical team assembled behind her. "Everyone stays calm. We don't know what we're dealing with." The docking procedure took 20 minutes. 20 minutes of silence broken only by the mechanical sounds of clamps and airlocks engaging. Tae-sung checked his equipment 3 times. His hands were shaking. The airlock door opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Steam rolled out, and through it came figures that made Tae-sung's breath catch in his throat. They were humanoid, but not human. Their skin was pale blue and covered in patterns that glowed softly, like bioluminescent algae he had studied years ago. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, colored in shades of silver and gold. They wore armor that seemed to be made of living metal, shifting and flowing across their bodies. The tallest one stepped forward. His patterns glowed brighter than the others, pulsing with urgency. "Please," he said in perfect English, though his voice had a strange musical quality. "Our daughter is dying. We have tried everything." Commander Ji-won stepped forward. "I'm Commander Ji-won of United Earth. We'll help in any way we can." The alien gestured behind him. 2 others were carrying a stretcher. On it lay a young woman, or what passed for a young woman in their species. Her skin was gray instead of blue. The glowing patterns across her body flickered weakly like dying stars. Dark patches spread across her arms and face, necrotic and spreading. Tae-sung moved without thinking. His medical training took over. "Bring her to the medical bay, quickly." They rushed through the corridors. The alien royalty followed, and Tae-sung learned their names as they ran. King Doyen, tall and imposing. Queen Mireille, her face twisted in anguish. And the dying Princess Hana. In the medical bay, Tae-sung's scanners went wild. The readings made no sense. The princess's cells were breaking down at the molecular level. Some kind of radiation he had never seen before was tearing her apart from the inside. "What happened to her?" Tae-sung asked as he worked. King Doyen's voice was heavy with grief. "A quantum rift. It opened during our jump through hyperspace. The radiation is poison to our kind. Our doctor said she has hours at most." Tae-sung ran scan after scan. His mind raced through every treatment protocol he knew. Nothing matched. Nothing even came close. This was radiation that existed in dimensions humans barely understood. Queen Mireille stood beside her daughter, holding her hand. Tears ran down her face, leaving glowing trails. "We were returning from peace talks," she whispered. "Trying to end a war. And now we're losing our daughter." Tae-sung felt something twist in his chest. He knew that pain. Years ago, his own sister had died. The doctors had tried everything, but the disease had been too aggressive. He had watched her fade just like this princess was fading now. "There has to be something," he muttered, pulling up more data. Then he saw it. A strange resonance in the quantum signature. It matched something in the human genome. A specific sequence that existed in only a small percentage of the population. Tae-sung had that sequence. He had been tested for it after his sister's death, when he volunteered for genetic studies. His mutation made his immune system unusually adaptive. It could recognize and respond to threats that would kill normal humans. The researchers had said it was probably useless, an evolutionary dead end. But now, staring at the readings, Tae-sung saw a connection. The quantum radiation that was killing Princess Hana resonated with human DNA. More specifically, with his DNA. "This is crazy," he whispered to himself. Commander Ji-won stood beside him. "What did you find?" Tae-sung pointed at the screen. "The radiation signature. It matches a specific human genetic marker."
"One that I have? What does that mean?"
"I don't know, but theoretically my cells might be able to produce antibodies to neutralize it." Ji-won grabbed his arm. "That's a huge leap. You don't know what would happen if you exposed yourself to an alien pathogen." Tae-sung looked at the dying princess. Her breathing had become shallow. The gray patches were spreading faster now. Minutes, not hours. She had minutes. He thought about his sister, about watching her die while feeling helpless, about all the research he had done since then, all the nights studying alien biology, hoping to prevent other deaths. What was the point of any of it if he stood by and did nothing now? "I'm sorry," he said to Ji-won. Then he walked to the bed. King Doyen moved to stop him, but Queen Mireille raised her hand. She saw something in Tae-sung's eyes. Recognition, perhaps. The look of someone who had lost everything and refused to lose again. Tae-sung reached out slowly. His hand hovered over Princess Hana's arm. The guards behind the king reached for their weapons. Everyone in the room held their breath. His fingers touched her skin. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Princess Hana's body jerked. The machines around her screamed warnings. Light exploded from the point of contact, bright enough that everyone had to shield their eyes. Tae-sung felt fire race through his nervous system. His cells were responding, adapting, producing enzymes at an impossible rate. The pain was incredible. It felt like his blood was boiling, but the gray patches on Hana's skin began to recede. Queen Mire gasped. King Doyen stepped forward, his eyes wide with shock. The guards lowered their weapons, staring in disbelief. Princess Hana's bioluminescent patterns began to glow again, faint at first, then stronger. The necrosis reversed, healthy blue skin returning where there had been only decay. Her breathing deepened, steadied. Tae-sung held on, even though every nerve in his body screamed at him to let go. He had started this. He would finish it. 3 hours passed. 3 hours of agony and wonder. When it was finally over, Princess Hana's eyes opened. They were the color of liquid gold. She looked at Tae-sung with confusion and gratitude. He collapsed beside her bed, completely exhausted. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was Queen Mireille's face, tears still streaming down her cheeks, but now they were tears of joy. King Doyen placed his hand over his heart in what was clearly a gesture of deep respect, and Princess Hana smiled. The first smile she had managed in days as life returned to her body, thanks to a human she had never met. Outside the medical bay, something was happening in the void of space. A dark ship uncloaked, its sensors locked on the research station. They had been watching, and now they knew about the human who could do the impossible.